What's up, guys? This is Adnan, and this is the part 1 of the API build up portion of the series. Alright, so hopefully in the past couple of videos you were able to get your npm, your node, and your mongo all set up. If you haven't, please do that, okay? Because if you haven't done that, you're basically not gonna be able to do what I'm about to do in this video regarding the node setup. Alright, so you did the clusters, right? You did the cluster, the to-do cluster, and that should be all good to go, right? And if you remember in the last video, basically I said that you need to have that string saved, all right? So when you do connect your application, there's this string here, and make sure you have this with you, right? Or you're able to get to this part in the admin portal, all right? Because this is a very important string. We're going to use it later on in this video, okay? So just keep that. I'm even going to keep this window open. Okay, so now let's just get started. I'm going to make a new folder and call it API. Okay, and then I'm going to go to Atom. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go to Atom. All right. Yeah, discard the state. It's all good. All right, now File, Open Folder, API from desktop, select folder. Okay, awesome. Alright, so now that you have the API here, we're pretty much good to go. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to do Npm Init, and what that does is it starts a node project, and that's exactly what our API is going to be. It's going to be a node project. Alright, so let's go here, go to the CMD, right, and then we go here, desktop API, right, and then type npm init. All right, just hit enter, API file, hit enter, hit enter, hit enter, hit enter, hit enter. These things don't matter, and then hit enter. All right, and what you notice is that there's a package.json here, and the package.json helps with like maintaining packages that we're gonna keep using. All right. So we're going to have a lot of packages. In fact, I'll install them right now by saying npm I express mongoose morgan and what's it called, and body parser. All right, so hit enter. All right, and then it's going to load, and then watch the package.json. Alright, so now you see there's a dependencies key, and then it has body parser, express, mongoose, and morgan. Alright, and this is very important because it shows you the version that's being used. Right, so at the time of this recording, express 4.17.1 is like the best release, and then 5.11.7 is the best release for mongoose. And this really shows you that, alright, he's using these releases. When you're cloning other people's projects and you're trying to run them, a lot of the times you're going to be like, hey, which versions did they run, right, of the dependencies, and now this lays it out for you. So that's the great thing about package.json. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just have a folder, and we'll just call it server. And then I'll make a file. I'll call it index. And check this out, right? It's going to be require. And there are these two packages. They're called Babel polyfill, require Babel. I think it's server. We can always fix this later. And then the main line is require, right, /server/index. Let me zoom this in for you. All right, /server. Okay. And what we're going to do is, what this is saying is, all right, bring in these packages and then also just run, right, the thing in server. Now you may be asking, what file is it going to run? Because you just required a folder, right? You didn't require a file, right? And that's the thing, is that whenever you do /server, it looks for the index file in that folder, right? So if I build an index, right, let's just do that and say just console.log. Hello, it's Adnan. Save that, and we save this, right? So now let's go back here and then let me just install everything. So Babel, polyfill, then Babel. I could be wrong with the second one. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so let me just quickly look it up. I'd used it before in a project I did. So let's quickly look up right here. Backend. Babel register. Yeah, Babel register. Okay. Let's install those two. Alright. See, I just wait for that to install. Okay. And now let's check this out. Let's do node index.js and hopefully Adnan, hello it's Adnan prints out. Okay, let's try it. And hello it's Adnan prints out. So what this did, right, this third line, seems a little confusing, but once you code a lot, you'll understand this. It says, okay, go to the server and just run the index file, right? And the index file is this. So I didn't need to say /index. This is good enough, /server, all right? Okay, so now index.js is where we're gonna pull in those packages that we did. So let's do that right now. So const express equals require express. All right, const mongoose equals require mongoose. All right, const body parser equals require body dash parser. All right, now const Morgan equals require Morgan. Now let me explain each of these packages. So Express is like, you know, API scaffolding framework that we're going to use to basically build our API, right? So, you know, building an API from scratch with no packages is really difficult. There's a lot of like security things and just things you don't really want to mess with. So Express takes care of all that. Mongoose is like a debugging framework. When we send requests, you know, there are these codes like 200 and 404. In fact, you may have been to a web page and it says 404 not found. Well, 404 is an error code that servers use to communicate with each other. So, oh, sorry, I'm talking about Morgan. So Morgan is going to be the package that shows the lines. All right, now Mongoose is the thing that lets us communicate with our MongoDB backend, right? So CRUD, create, read, update, delete, Mongoose will take care of that. And body parser will be able to take in data from requests and work with them, right? So body parser works well with like JSON objects. All right, awesome. So you pull those in, right? And you'll see we'll use it throughout the tutorial. Okay, awesome. So now the first thing we want to do is we basically want to connect to MongoDB. All right, so let's do step 1, connect to MongoDB. Right. And remember, we did the MongoDB setup in the last video, so please do that if you didn't do so already. All right, and this is just boilerplate code. All right, so something to understand is that we do a lot of boilerplate code when it comes to API code. And this isn't like an algorithm or something with a lot of intuition behind it. It's more just copying code and then adapting it to your like instance, or you know, adapting it to your circumstances. So this is all boilerplate code. Try not to like deeply understand, especially if it's your first time. Like it's all good. Don't worry. All right. So now connect to MongoDB. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set up these things called promises. So global.promise equals mongoose.promise. All right. So what that does is it allows the API to use promises, which is really useful because you know, like try catch these things. Promises will help with that. Okay, and then we're going to do the connection. So mongoose.connect, and then we're going to give our string here, right? So remember the string that we did last time. In fact, let me just quickly check that I'm doing the right thing. Promise. Yeah, connect. Yeah, okay, for sure. Yep. In fact, I'll probably reference this code a lot. So Yeah. So now let's put in the string, okay, that you got. So let's copy this. Let's paste it. Okay. And now notice how there's two things here that are like left out to you. So one is the password. So remember that when you created your DB admin, you made an account, right? And for me, I just made the username and password the same. So ABCD1234. Okay, and then the DB name I'll just say as to do, right? Because that's what I did. So let's check it out. To do, right? So yeah, let's do that. To do. Okay, cool. So mongoose.connect. All right. And now what is this? I believe it's. Oh, it's just like a void method. Okay, so yeah, you can just do that. And then there's this thing called new URL parser. I think that will just help you later on down the line. I'm not sure exactly what it does. Parser true. Right. Okay, yeah. And then we're gonna do this thing, and I really want to highlight this point. Is basically we're gonna connect, right? And then it's gonna the connection, right? This connect, it'll emit back an event saying whether we're connected or not. And what the way we can signal what it outputs is mongoose.connection dot on, right? And what this means is there's an event we have to listen to. So on open once connection dot once dot on. Okay, so let's do once connection, right? So once you set up the connection, right? If you hear this event, what to do? Just console.log connected to MongoDB. All right. Okay, and then we'll do a dot on. Okay, let's do this. Get better. Dot once dot on, and if there's an error, then let's console.log that error, right? So dot error, I believe it's going to be like error, and then console.log error. All right. Let's actually just do error like that. All right. So to kind of recap, I know it's a lot to digest, right? We're going to set up the promises by doing line 7. Then on line 8, we're actually going to connect to the MongoDB backend that we created using the string that was outputted. And once we do that, then we can connect to the instance, right? And then if we see a connection event, then console.log will say connect to MongoDB. So you're going to see that in your console.log. And if there's an error, just console.log the error, okay? All right, so here we go. Hopefully this works. We'll debug it if it doesn't. All right. So another thing I want to talk about is the package.json. So if you notice, there's a scripts tag, right? So this is very important. We should do like start, and then here you can say like Node.js index.js. All right. So this actually runs the index.js file, and now you can say right here npm start. All right, let's do enter. See it happens, and see it runs node index.js. Okay, we've got a warning. That's fine. No worry about warnings. We can always deprecate those. So now let's see what it outputs. Let me zoom this in. So let me check that I did it right. Connection. Oh, open, sorry. Not connection. So once open. Apologies. Let's save that. So now it's npm start. And okay, we're connected to MongoDB, right? So if you don't see this, that means you put an error in your string, right? So you may put the wrong password, right? Something like that. Okay, so really pat yourself on the back if you're able to get to this part. It's very hard to get to this point. Okay, so now that you're here, that means that you basically were able to connect to your MongoDB instance, and we're going to be able to communicate with that backend, kind of like that waiter and chef example, right? Your chefs are all lined up to go, man. They're ready to make the food, and you are as the waiter are ready. All right. So you basically got your chef set up. So you can even do that. Got chefs set up. If you really like that analogy. All right. Now step 2, right? What we're gonna do here is we're just gonna configure our API. So just do configuration, then we'll end it after this step is done. All right. So the main thing here is that you really want to use the documentation as thoroughly as possible. So the way you want to start this out, just say const app equals express, right? And then you can say app.use, right? And this is like a middleware, so what to use? Morgan, right? And then just put dev, just because we're in development, not production. And let's do the body parser. So there's some lines, I'll just copy it, and you can copy yours. I'll use these two. I'll just copy this whole thing. So, alright, let me just retype that. So again, this is all just boilerplate code. It's fine. You don't need to know this off the top of your head, or it doesn't need to make 100% sense. But I can just explain this to you. So basically what you're doing is you're instantiating an API instance by saying const app equals express, right? Like object orientation programming. Okay, and then here you're just doing some body parser configuration. You're basically saying that I believe these two are the same, so let's just remove this one. Alright, so what this is saying is, alright, you have a 50 the max that the JSON coming in can be, the max size 50 megabytes, right? You don't want it to be too large. This extended parameter limit is other things, right? You don't want there to be too many parameters in the JSON. All right. App.use Morgan dev is just to debug for the HTTP requests. And for now, this is not good if you want to deploy your app, because what this is saying is anyone can enter your app. So just keep this in for now. It might help later when you're going to deal with like cores and stuff, cores issues. So yeah, this is just good. And then honestly, I think we just end it here. So if you're able to get here, really give yourself a pat on the back, and don't worry about understanding all of this line of code. It's all good. It's pretty difficult. So in the next part, we're actually going to start building the routes, and we're even going to use this thing called Postman to test out our routes. All right. So good job. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next video.